Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Fundraising Fundamentals webinar. My name is Alyssa Fader, and I am the Training Director here at Emily's List. Very excited to have you online today. And I wanted to share a little bit with you about Emily's List and our training program and how it is that we provide resources like this to Democratic pro-choice women running for office. So Emily's List was founded in 1985. Since our founding, we've helped elect over 100 women to the House, 26 to the Senate, 16 governors, and nearly 1,100 women to state and local office. One of the things that we are the largest resource for women politics. We help elect, recruit, and train pro-choice Democratic women to run for office. And my team is here to really give you the training and support that you all need to be successful in your runs. We've had 50,000 women reach out to us and say that they're interested in running for office, and that is the backbone of the training program here. So to help those 50,000 women and those of you who are on the line, we've helped develop trainings with our in-house experts, like your trainer today, to guide you through the nuts and bolts of running for office. So that means that we are giving you these kinds of webinars. We're also having a calendar of in-state trainings across the country, so keep an eye out for those. And we work across the organization to make sure that we provide training resources and training best practices to all of you. So I'm going to turn it over to your trainer for today, the very talented Kiana McKenzie, who is the Deputy Director for State and Local Fundraising, and she will guide you on today's webinar, Fundraising Fundamentals.
Hi, so as Alyssa just mentioned, my name is Kiana McKenzie. I'm the Deputy Director for State and Local Fundraising here at Emily's List, and every day I get to work with women just like you who are running for office, who are trying to set up their fundraising operations and wondering exactly what to do. So hopefully today you'll gain a little bit more information and maybe a couple of skills on what you should be doing right now in terms of setting up your fundraising operations. Several times through this presentation, we'll give you a chance to ask us questions and let us know sort of what you need and your concerns as it relates to fundraising. So thanks so much for joining us today. And again, I hope you guys walk away with some things that are super helpful for your campaigns. All right, so really quickly, the agenda for today. I mean, obviously, you're welcome. We're so happy to have you with us on this webinar, but we do have a couple of housekeeping announcements. We're going to talk about some myths of fundraising. I really want to help break those barriers that people have, even just mentally, about what it means to raise money to be competitive in your races. We're going to talk about the circles of benefit. We really want to help folks target and figure out how to communicate with the people that they want to donate to their campaigns and have an effective ask. Again, as I mentioned, we'll have a few times where we'll be able to answer some of the questions that you are asking us. We'll talk a little bit about creating a finance plan and making sure you understand what that looks like. Raising money online is obviously a big thing right now. You'll see the presidential campaigns talk about that constantly. We want to make sure you're also up on that trend as well. And again, we'll close with some more question and answers. Alyssa just told you a little bit about Emily's List, but the big thing that I think we really want to make sure that folks understand is that we're here to help folks running from every level of office. We help people from the Senate to, the city commissioner, right? And we want to make sure that these skills that we're using in our campaigns are accessible to everyone. And so when you see announcements for these webinars, for the activities that are happening in our online communities, or even our emails, we invite you to tune in so that you can learn some of the things that we're teaching candidates across the country every single day in terms of running their campaigns. So the norms for today, we really want you to invest in our time together. I'm so happy they brought me in to talk to this and to be able to talk to a larger group of folks about what it means to fundraise for your race. So we're gonna have a couple of activities during this session. Obviously, we want you to ask questions as well so that we can get you the answers that you're looking for. All of your questions are valid. Go ahead and type them in the text box at any time during the webinar. And again, when we have those question and answer breaks, we'll try to get through as many as possible. And we really want to keep these slides internal. They were created for pro-choice Democratic women by the wonderful folks in this building and with our partners. And we want to make sure that these slides remain internal. So why fundraise, right? So you should think of fundraising as just another tool in the toolbox of having a competitive campaign. When we're talking about fundraising, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll raise more money than your opponent or as much money as possible. What you want to do is raise money to be competitive. So we tell folks that you need to set a budget. You need to know and understand what it looks like to send mail out to the people that you're targeting. What does it look like to potentially be on the radio? And so one of our favorite quotes about a budget allows a candidate to pay for the water for their volunteers, mail to send their voters, paper for the canvassing packets, a website to deliver their message, other professionals that are going to help them win, and everything in between. And so one of the first things a candidate should do and their team is to sit down, create a realistic budget of what needs to be paid for in terms of running a competitive campaign. And then on the flip side, we'll think about how are we going to raise that money. So as I mentioned, what I have found in my work with candidates is that there are real fundraising myths, right? There are certain things that we have told ourselves or that we hear from other people, maybe even former candidates, that we use to sort of shadow how we think about fundraising. And sometimes they can be real barriers to our success. So one of the things we definitely want to do is just knock some of those down because we want you to feel successful and feel confident in the fundraising that you're going to do on your campaign through the rest of the cycle. So the first one is that political fundraising is charity. I think a lot of us are raised at this idea that you just don't ask other people for money, you make do with what you have. And it's different from raising money from a charity, right? Like when you raise money for a charity, people expect a tax break or they expect, folks to cure cancer and things of that nature. But ultimately what you're doing when you're asking people to give to a charity or give to a political campaign is to help make a difference in this world. And so political fundraising isn't charity. What you're doing is you're asking folks to invest in your campaign, invest in helping you to make a difference for your community, for your district, and really bring about some of the change that all of you want to happen. The second one is that only the rich give. I think this is the one that I hear most often. I have so many candidates who say, I don't come from a rich family. I don't come from a rich background, but none of those things really matter. I mean, honestly, there was a study that was done a few years ago that says that people with lower incomes actually give away more of their income to good causes than the rich do. And so what it really goes back to is inviting people to join you in this journey to make a difference in our communities. So yes, there will be richer people who can give large sums of money, and you should absolutely ask them for that money. But there are also people who can give $5, $10, $20, who want to make a difference in their community, who are invested in the work that you do, and who will give that money if you ask for it. Fundraising is schmoozing. I think all of us value authentic people, right? You don't want someone who just wants to get to know you because of what you might be able to give them. And so there is this delicate balance of expanding your network and getting to know new people, and then at some point in the future also asking them for money. But again, it goes back to the fundamental reason that you're running for office. You're running for office because there's something in your community that you're very passionate about. There's something that's keeping you up at night, that you want to change in some legislative body. And this is the opportunity that you're taking to run for it. And so when you're talking to these people, again, it's not about you and their personal like for you, but it's about them wanting to make that same difference in their community, them believing that you are the person who will be able to get to that legislative body and make that kind of change, who will champion those issues. And ultimately, when you invite people along for that journey, they will join you if that is, again, something that they also care about. Then there's this myth that only the usual suspects give. I like to tell folks that there's a small group of folks who actually politically give. And like, that's great. You want to get money for them if possible. But I also think we have a responsibility to invite our friends, our family, our neighbors to invest in the community in a different way. Part of what we do is we're asking folks who don't have a history of giving to, again, come along and invest in this journey with us to sort of be the change they want in the world, right? If we want different elected officials, if we want officials who care about the issues that we care about, we have to elect folks who will do that kind of work. And I'm assuming that you're one of those people. And so you have to make that argument to your friends, to your family, to your faith community, to all of the people that you know, that this is a time to donate in something different, right? Do something a little different so that we'll have different results in the legislature. And then finally, it's rude to ask more than once. So what we have found is that when you ask someone for money and they give you money, they're invested in the final outcome. And so it's not rude to ask for once. You're asking folks that you already know are invested in the process. What you have a responsibility to do, however, is to show them how their initial investment and how all of their investments have helped your campaign move forward. So if they've given money towards a day of action in your community with volunteers, you need to go back to that person and say, thanks to your contribution, we were able to send 50 people into the community and knock 1,100 doors on that particular Saturday and secure these folks who are going to vote for me on election day. That's real action and real results for the investment that they've made. And when people hear things like that, they are usually excited about giving again because they want to be helpful and they ultimately want to see you succeed. So fundraising largely, if we think about it in terms of a definition, it's really communicating in a clear and precise way how someone stands to benefit from your candidate getting elected. I mean, ultimately the question that's literally in their head is what's in it for me? And so when you're having a conversation with a donor, it's not all the things about you, and like you want to do this and you think that you're the best and all of those things. Like, yes, those things can all be true. But ultimately, during the conversation, what you want to know is what's important to that particular donor. Are they invested in the environment? How are you going to be an environmental champion? Make sure that they understand that if they love the environment and you love the environment, changes in the environment are going to happen because you are the champion for that issue in the legislature or whatever body that you're running for. So for every person that you are thinking to ask for money, you want to make sure that they understand that there is some benefit for them. Now, the Circles of Benefit is a strategic tool that we use at Emily's List to target donors and figure out sort of what motivates them to give. And here's a lovely picture of it. So we're going to get into each of the circles in more detail in just a moment. But I want to just make sure you understand sort of how to read this. So as a candidate, sort of everything revolves around you, which totally makes sense. Like you give up several months of your life to run for office, things kind of revolve around you. But you start with the personal circle. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about that. You'll move into ideology or the ideological circle and the people who care about the same issues that you might care about. Axe to grind or people who really hate your opponent. And then power, and those are people not necessarily the most powerful people in the world or the most powerful people in your community, but the people who have a vested interest in what you might be able to do in your legislative body as it relates to money or jobs and things of that nature. You'll notice the two arrows that are on the side, one being time and one being viability, just to show that as you move out into those outer circles, it might take a little more time to get money from those folks. It might take a little more time to build relationships, but it also is a place where you have to prove your viability in order to really engage with those people as well. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go on. So the personal circle, I cannot stress to you how important the personal circle is. In a campaign, one of the most important quarters that you'll have is that first quarter. And that's when you're proving to all of the people watching just how serious you are about running for office. And so during that first quarter, those initial months of running for office, you want to talk to the people who know you the best, the people who know and respect you, family members, friends, close professional colleagues, even folks who've watched you grow up, right? Like people who genuinely believe that you're a great person, that you have integrity, that you're of solid character, et cetera, et cetera. Those people who you can pick up the phone, have a brief conversation with, and know that they'll be excited about this move that you're making and will give you money. The message here is this is important to me. You love me, respect me, admire me, etc. Will you please contribute to my campaign? The second circle is the ideological circle. And so these are people who, again, care about those issues. So whether they're pro-choice advocates or environmentalists or care about certain civil right causes, these are the people who fall within this circle. These are people who are usually willing to take a political risk because what they're looking for is someone who's going to make a difference, someone who's willing to be a champion on those particular issues. And so the message here is you can count on me. I'll be a voice for you. Join me in our fight against whatever issue you're caring about. The axe to grind circle is an interesting one because I often hear it's like, oh, everybody hates the incumbent or everyone hates this other person. And it doesn't quite work this way. So for the axe to grind, it's really people who have been personally impacted by the opponent. So if your opponent has done some really terrible things with maybe school funding and like the kids' music programs have been cut and things of that nature, like those are real reasons why people might have an axe to grind against the opponent and want to give money to anybody other than them. And then that's when that money typically comes for you. And the message here is I am not him or her. Like that's not something I would do. Finally, there is the power circle. So again, these are business interests, unions, healthcare. These are people who usually come in late because they want you to prove that you can win. So they want to see you raising money without them. They want to see potentially polls to find out how close the race is and things of that nature. They are really interested in making sure that they are with the winner. And so just like if you were doing a business plan, right, and you were going to the bank to get a loan, these same folks want you to prove that you have everything together and that you've run the best race you could potentially run so that them joining the race just puts you over the top. And the message here is I'm going to win and I want you with me. So why are these circles important? Really, they help you, again, target the donors that you're going to talk to and also figure out what their motivation and what that message might be. So every donor has a motivation to give. Again, as you have conversations with people, they sort of naturally reveal what they care about, those issues that are important or are keeping them up at night. And it's important for you to listen to them and make sure that you're able to talk about those things so that they understand that there is a benefit to electing you to office. How much they will benefit will depend on whether they live in the district or whether there's people who genuinely believe you're a great person who is thoughtful about the issues. And those are the kind of thoughtful, deliberative people they want in those bodies. And then the more someone benefits, the higher the priority. So you'll call them earlier in the race rather than later because they have such a benefit that they'll want to be with you from the beginning and they'll want to help you make that case for viability. And using these things, you'll tailor your message so that you can solicit them effectively. So here's an example. And this is a place where, again, we want you to engage. So if you're, let's pretend we're all running for city council. This is Kathy, and she owns a local cafe on Main Street, but we've only interacted a few times. She has 2 kids in public school. She cares a lot about public education. That's her issue. She gave Hillary Clinton $50 in 2016. She gave $40 to a local Democratic member of Congress in their last race, and the contribution limit is $400. So how much should we ask Kathy for in our race? What might be the issue that we talk about with Kathy? Excuse me. If you could add that in the chat box now, that would be great. Starting to see some good answers here. What would you ask Kathy for? Okay. Seeing some pretty awesome guesses. Yes, I love the idea of asking someone for a donation for a specific thing. Donors love to hear where their money is going to go, not sort of this black hole of money, right? Campaigns have real expenses. $100. Okay, great. So a lot of these are really great answers. This is someone you're not super connected to, but you have met. So there is some warmth or some opening there for you. We know she has kids in public school and she cares about public education. And so really a great place to talk about benefit is in the education circle, right? Like she would be an ideological donor who we could talk to about public education. And I think the guesses that I see most often are 50 to 75, $100. I think I would probably go with $100. Knowing that if she's not comfortable with $100, she will tell you and will tell you how much she can give. And again, that's a big tip that I've gotten from years of working with candidates, right? It doesn't really matter how much you ask them for if they don't have the capacity to give it, right? Because ultimately, people will tell you how much they can give. So even if you feel like someone can only give you $25, it doesn't really hurt you to ask them for 50 because if they care about you and they think you're the right candidate, some people will stretch to get you that 50, or they'll tell you, I can only do $25, and then you've gotten exactly what you were looking for to begin with. So just make sure that we're not making so many assumptions about what people can give that we're robbing them of the opportunity to really invest in the race. All right, so it looks like this is a time for questions. So I see that some of you have been typing in questions and I'm happy to answer them now. And I believe Alyssa is going to read some out to us.
Hello. Well, hello, everybody. Happy to be back. So we've got some good questions coming into the chat box. A question that we would love to start with is, are folks more willing to give to local races or national races? And how should you communicate about fundraising for your race when there's lots of races going on at once?
Right. So that is a real problem during a presidential year, right? Like I think we've all seen the reports about how much money somebody might be raising on a presidential race and wondering sort of what that means for our campaigns. I think it's about making the case. I think there are obviously people who will want to give money to the presidential race because they have certain passions as to who should be in the White House, right? But ultimately, we have to remind people why our races even exist in the first place. Like, what does the city council impact, right? Who controls money for school? Who controls money for our roads and the potholes that tear up our cars? You need to make the race real to the people that you're talking to so they understand that there's a reason for them to be to have an investment or to have a stake in this particular race and want to give to you.
Great. Our next question is about grassroots fundraising. Should you only be asking for small amounts of donations like $2 or more, or should you always be aiming higher? And if you could also use this to talk about different ways of making your campaign a grassroots campaign and also how to incorporate higher level donors in that as well. I think that'd be really helpful.
It is all of the above. This is like my favorite thing to talk about because I really do think that particularly as Democrats, we have a real opportunity to try to bring as many people into the process. And so, yes, there is space where if someone has a higher capacity to give and can potentially max out to your campaign, you absolutely should ask them to max out to your campaign and hope for the best. But there is room for everyone at this tent as it relates to your race, right? So there will be folks that you should ask for $5 or $10 for, knowing their potential capacity to give, but also knowing that they want to be invested in this race. They want to support someone who they literally and truly believe will be the best representative for them. And you shouldn't rob them of that opportunity as well. So one of the things that we like to say is that there's so many different ways to ask for money. You can call and ask folks for money. And like I would reserve those calls for, calls on the higher end. So if someone can give you, $75 plus, go ahead and give them a call and ask them for those dollars and see if they'll contribute over the phone or go online to your website. You're going to have events at some point, and you can have low dollar events where maybe The asking price is $5, $10 or more. I can't tell you the number of spaghetti dinners I've gone to. My favorite fundraiser was an apple cider and donuts fundraiser. Literally cost $40. We asked people for $10 at the door, and it raised lots of money from people who could only give $5 or $10, but who wanted to meet the candidate who they thought would fight for them as it relates to education, right? And so you have a chance and an opportunity to be really creative here, to figure out ways to bring in lots of folks into the system at different, donation points, to raise both what you need to be competitive, but also to include as many people as possible.
Great. And our last question for now, and we will have another question and answer block later, so keep them coming, folks, is about, in the circles of benefit, how is it that you would recommend approaching someone that you don't know already?
So one of the things I like to say to folks is, again, try to think about who you know and whether or not they might know another person that you're trying to get in contact with. So having a sense of who everyone's network or who their circles might be is great for you too, because it's great to get on the phone and say, Sally mentioned that I should give you a call because we care about the same things as it relates to the environment or to reproductive rights, et cetera, et cetera. If it's someone that you just don't know, but it's someone that you think could potentially be interested in your campaign, you get on the phone and you sort of ask them what they're interested in, what keeps them up at night, what are those issues that you care about, because what you want to do is establish that common ground, figure out how they benefit from you being elected to this office, and having a conversation about that. Again, the goal is to be authentic, not to create new things so that everybody sounds like they're your best friend, but to really think through what is possible for you to do in the office that you're running for. How does this person benefit, and how can we have this conversation? All right.
All right. Thank you so much, Kiana. We will be back with more questions.
All right. Keep them coming. I love them. All right. So another thing that we're going to talk about a little bit is online fundraising. That is such a big thing. Again, you'll see it every single evening. We have something to do with the presidential that will mention online fundraising. And so again, you want to just take a couple of tips and tricks to make it easy for folks to do this for you as well. So you want to make sure that giving a contribution on your website is clear and easy. I like to tell folks to change the letters of the donate to another color so it stands out. And as you see in the picture here, you have donate in the red at the bottom. There's usually one on the top as well. Like, you have a couple of different places where folks know and understand that if you're looking for a way to invest in the race, it's right there. You need to be able to accept credit card contributions. Yes, we do still have some folks who are not completely comfortable with giving online, but most people are used to shopping on secure online websites for, food. I mean, how many people are part of Amazon, right? So don't let your discomfort with giving online translate to you not asking folks to do something, right? So make sure that folks can give online, make sure that those links work, and then drive them to give you contributions online. They're used to doing it for Amazon, for Macy's, for everything else. If they want to invest in your race, this should be an option for them as well. So our partners at Act Blue, they actually help candidates set up their portals to raise money online. It's a fundraising platform that's for candidates, for committees and advocacy organizations. And one of the great things about it is that it's really a place where grassroots fundraising sort of thrives. So this is a place where you'll see people really chipping in $5 and $10, sometimes monthly. Those recurring contributions are amazing. So again, if you're thinking through what can people give to your campaign, sometimes people can give $100 over the course of the campaign, but not necessarily on one day. And so think about asking folks to give you recurring contributions or making a monthly contribution to your race as an investment. And then you want to work with campaigns. They work with campaigns and organizations to help them execute digital fundraising programs. So it's really, really easy to set up an Act Blue account. You literally go to their website. There's a whole nice little circle that says get started. Once you fill in that information, they'll be in touch to help you set up your campaign account and make sure that you'll be able to raise money into your campaign. So just a few tips. When you start running for office, you're going to start with a list of people that you already email, aka the emails from your personal email. So you're going to take those emails, but you're also going to want to grow that list over time. So every time you go to an event, every time you meet someone new, every time you appear in an event, you want to see if you can grab the check-in list with the email addresses, if you can pass around a sign-up sheet and get email addresses. Anything you can do to grow your list and continue to talk to people about your campaign, you should be doing. You need to find a moment and tell a story about it, but keep it short. I think we're all used to getting emails that come from different candidates and things of that nature. The key here is really to make sure that you can make a clear, concise statement about why someone should give based on a certain moment or based on a certain story. But again, keep it short. Your subject lines can make a huge difference. You want people to open up the email. So give them a little teaser about what it's about, but not so much that they don't need to open the email to read the rest of your story. If you have volunteers, particularly those retired teachers, I found them to be sort of the greatest help on campaigns sometimes. You need someone to double, triple, and quadruple check everything. Check your grammar, check your links, check to make sure it looks good on your phones, both Android and iPhone, as well as on a regular computer screen. Find folks who are just willing to take those links and time out before you send it out to your entire group. Making a specific ask is so important. So when we ask someone for a contribution, you don't want to just ask them to support your campaign, but you want to know if you can count on them to contribute $25 today to your campaign. Give folks something to say yes or no to. So if you're asking a generic question, you'll generally get a generic answer, but generic answers don't fit into a budget. So again, the more that you can be specific and be concise in asking someone for $25, $50, $15, whatever feels appropriate for that moment, the easier it is for you to figure out how things factor into your budget. And then one of the great things about ActBlue is that it'll show you who's opening and who's unsubscribing. And so you'll have a sense of what do the people who are on my list want me to talk about? What is it they'd like to hear from me in terms of opening emails and potentially giving as well? And we have some more time for questions.
Hello, I'm back. So more questions, folks keep putting them in the chat and we will take a look at them, but what we have so far. First question is there a specific time of day that's most effective to make an ask?
So what I found is that you should vary. It's really, again, all of the things. And so one of the most important things you can do while fundraising is to keep track of data. I think people don't realize how data-driven fundraising can be. And not data-driven in that you need to do these complex analyses, right? But like you just need to know, did I try this person in the morning and they didn't answer the phone? Because maybe I should try them in the evening, right? And so you want to think through what might be an optimal time to call folks. And so I tell people that they should schedule some morning call time, some afternoon call time, a couple evening call times, and then sometimes and occasionally maybe a weekend evening, say a Sunday evening, to call through to folks and try to get them on the phone. I think we all know that life can vary for different people based on their jobs, based on sort of, their schedules and maybe after school schedules. And so you want to be flexible in trying to reach the people on your list.
Great. All right. Another question. My family doesn't have a lot of money, the questioner asks, and I don't feel comfortable asking them for it. How can I get them involved supporting my campaign?
So I think, again, one of the things you don't want to do is make an assumption that someone isn't willing to give you a contribution. I completely respect where people are in life, what situations they might be dealing with and things of that nature. But I also know that these people will tell you if something's not possible. And so, yes, be conscious of what things are going on, but also ask people what makes them comfortable. Like, what do they feel comfortable contributing to your campaign? I have had so many situations with candidates where they thought someone was going to be unwilling to give to them because they couldn't give $50 or couldn't give $25. And when we called, that person was like, "I am happy to give you $5 a month through the rest of the campaign," because they want to be supportive, because they believe in you, they trust that you will do the job that you are being sent to do, and they want to have a piece of that as well. And I think some people can quite frankly find it also offensive that you didn't ask, that you made the assumption that they wouldn't be able to do something when they've always been a supporter of yours. So I would say, regardless of different circumstances, give folks an opportunity to say yes or no to you and to figure out a way to invest and be helpful in your campaign. If they decide that they can't give, but they want to help in some other way, there's always help with reaching other people and helping to do some research on phone numbers and things of that nature to help you reach other friends and family. Knocking doors and just a ton of other activities that happen on a campaign that they'll be able to tap into, and you can talk them through that on the phone. But I think you should always take that opportunity to ask them for some contribution, even if it's $3, $5, $10. All of that adds up and tells a story about your race as well.
So also hoping you can talk a little bit more about the different uses of Act Blue. Someone asked if Act Blue is needed on the smaller and local races, but I think it's a good opportunity to talk about how it is that Act Blue can operate in different campaign environments.
Yeah, so Act Blue is used from the smallest campaigns to the largest campaigns, right? It literally does not discriminate on the size of the campaign. It's also one of the most trusted systems as it relates to political fundraising in the market. And so what we found is that a lot of people have Act Blue accounts because they have given, $1, $3, $5 to one of the presidential candidates this cycle or to former candidates in other cycles. And again, all of those contributions are welcome and appreciated because they all add up and they allow campaigns to do what it is they need to do to be competitive. And so whether you're running for, city council or the local school board, Act Blue is an option for you in terms of raising money online. Again, people are used to going online and purchasing things, and they can also go online and contribute to your campaign.
Awesome. And I think our last question for now is, how soon should you start fundraising for your race?
Now, if you are not regularly doing call time and regularly finding ways to engage with potential supporters for your campaign, that's something you definitely should start doing today. One of the first things that we tell candidates to do is to make a list, to Rolodex themselves and make a list of the people, from all different points in their life. Who did you grow up with? Who are your family neighbors? Who are your mom and dad's best friends? Who did you go to elementary school with? Who were your favorite teachers? Like, think through all of the different moments of your life and the people who fit there, and then make this comprehensive list and then start to work through it. Start to call through those folks, tell them about what's happening, and ask them to invest and contribute to your campaign. Start to plan those events. Who might be a good event host? Who has who likes hosting things in their homes and bringing people together around a common cause? Well, the common cause right now is you. And so you want to think of people who might be willing to open up their home, invite their friends so that they can meet you, the candidate, and potentially contribute to your campaign as well. So yeah, there are lots of different things that you can be doing even today to pull this piece of your campaign together so that ultimately you raise enough money to be competitive. Again, I don't want to scare anyone. Again, this is not me saying you need to raise millions of dollars to be competitive. Every race will vary. There are races that will cost a couple of $1,000s depending on where you live and what level of race you're running for. And then there will be races that cost substantially more. But ultimately, what you want to do is you want to sit down, figure out what your budget is, and then start to plan to raise more of the money, calling through your personal circle, identifying those issues that you're passionate about and that people in your community are passionate about, and identifying who fits within those issues as well, and starting to call them as well. And as you sort of target who you need to call and what you need to talk about, you'll find that you'll have a lot more success on the phone, and ultimately you'll raise that money to be competitive.
All right, wonderful. So that's all the time we have for questions right now, but I'll be back later on in the session to share some more resources that we have here at Emily's List and more ways of learning about how to have these kinds of conversations in future webinars.
All right, so the key takeaways here is to be creative and reach out to all of your circles. Again, I want to really, really stress that you want to start with your personal circle, not only because these are people who know, love, and trust you, but also because this is a place where you can really get comfortable talking about yourself and your campaign. These are the people who are not judging every single word that's coming out of your mouth, but are genuinely excited that you are taking this step to contribute a little bit more to the world, to make a difference. And so here's a place where you can sort of practice with language and practice how you talk about yourself and your experience and your history, and really ground yourself in that before you start to do the forums and things of that nature where you're really expected to be a little bit more polished. So take, those initial calls and those initial interactions with people in your personal circle as a real learning opportunity for you as well. You want to think about the different tools that you might use to reach out to these folks as well. So are you inviting them to an event? Do you have email addresses for people in the environmental community that you can send an email to and ask them to contribute to your campaign while reminding them of how much of an environmental champion you are? Who do you need to call? Who do you need to sit with? These are all things you can do as you're thinking through who fits in these individual circles. You'll also find that as you branch out and as you fill out the circles, you'll also figure out who are the people that you don't know and that you might need to expand into your network, that'll ultimately help you both politically and financially for your campaign. You need to make it easy to donate. You need to make it easy to donate. It would be great if we could go to everyone's house and pick up a check. But ultimately it takes a ton of time that you don't need to do. And so use the tools that are available. Again, our partners at ActBlue are a great resource for candidates. Make it easy for them to donate to you online, and you'll find that a lot of people will take you up on that opportunity. And then you want to develop a detailed plan early. When you are ready to run, when you are ready to put your name on the ballot, you need to also be ready to do the work. And so again, part of it is knowing how much do I need to be competitive? What do I need to do to communicate to my voters? And then how can I raise this money? And what you'll find is if you ask everyone, if you don't make assumptions about who can give and who will give, but instead ask folks to just invest and give them that opportunity to say yes or no, you'll find that there are a lot of people who want to say yes and who will say yes and who will help you build that plan so that ultimately you raise what you need to be competitive. I want to say thanks to our partners. We have AFT, AFSCME, UFCW, and NEA. They've been great partners with us and making sure that we can share these tips and these skills with our larger Run to Win community and help more women. One of the most amazing resources that everyone uses at this point, because we talk about it constantly, it's a training center. It is full of these really awesome modules on every part of a campaign. So whether you're able to join us on these webinars or can only do things late at night when no one else is up, the training center is literally always there. So you want to go to trainingcenter.emilyslist.org. Go ahead and check it out. We have an intro piece that is free, but if you want access to the full scale of things, we do charge a small nominal fee. And so please go there, sign up for it, go through those modules, learn what you need to, because ultimately we want you to be successful in your campaign for public office. Here are just some examples of things. So again, thank you so much. I don't know how much time we have for questions, if any. Okay, looks like we're running out of time, so I apologize for that. But again, thanks so much for joining us, and we hope that you were able to find this helpful. Bye.
Great. Thank you so much, Kiana. A couple of last resources for you all. So you guys had amazing questions. Thank you so much for sharing them. Hopefully we will have the opportunity to answer some of them both in our Run to Win Facebook group, which you can find by going to by looking for Run to Win on Facebook, or in our Emily's List blog. In addition to that, we're also going to be having some future webinars that build off of this webinar that I wanted to make sure you had on your calendars, and you'll get registration links for these in the follow-up email after this webinar. So on March 5th, we're going to be doing communications and messaging fundamentals. This training was, of course, on fundraising fundamentals, and communication and messaging is a really key tool in your toolbox for building out the skills that you have to make your campaign work and talk to new people, whether they be donors or voters or anybody else. The second webinar that we have scheduled is on March 24th, which is on something called call time. So in this conversation, Kiana mentioned call time a few times. That is really when you get on the phone with potential donors and you talk to them about your campaign. We're going to really break down for you what are the different aspects of call time, what makes for a good call time session, and how to approach doing your call time work. So we hope that you will join us at those particular webinars. Please do join the Facebook group because we would love to answer your questions further there. And looking forward to seeing you next time. Thank you so much.